So this next panel discussion is entitled Future Ready Schools, Integrating AI in Education for Adaptive Learning and Efficient Administration. We'll explore how educators and administrators can harness the potential of AI to personalize learning experiences and optimize operations. We'll hear about real-world examples, challenges, and strategies for successfully implementing AI in schools. So first of all, we'd like to welcome up our moderator up to the stage. His name is Michael Wozniak, trainer, consultant, and coach of AI and human performance at Optimistra. Please, let's welcome him up onto the stage. Thank you, Michael. And now our panelists to join Michael up here on the stage for this next session. Jalaj Desai, Head of School, Saddle River Day School. Gina Uttam Chandani, Co-founder Generation Officer, Tongston Group. Alisa Avyazan, Member Board of Directors, Teichmann International IT Solutions. Let's put our hands together as we welcome them all up onto the stage. Please go ahead, Michael, the stage is yours.
Welcome to this panel, and I hope you had a good lunch and good exchanges also with all those wonderful people that are here. So today the panel will be entitled Future Ready Schools and Integrating AI in Education for Adaptive Learning and for Efficient Administration. So we're going to cover quite a lot of aspects. I am Michael Wozniak. I will be your host today. So perhaps you know about mind mapping and Tony Buzan. I am actually the vice president of Tony Buzan International. I'm also the CEO of Optimistra, which is a strategic company that provides training, coaching, and consulting in the fields of education. Also, we work for the militaries. We work also for C-levels, and we are specialized also in artificial intelligence and the implementation of it within organizations. So, in today's panel, we're going to cover 4 different aspects of the main theme. First, we're going to take the point of view of the student. We're going to take the point of view also of the teacher. Then we're going to take the point of view of education as a system, and then administration. And at the end, we're going to have a few moments with questions from you to our amazing panelists, which we have here. They will have the opportunity to present themselves right before their first answer. And just because it's after the meal, I would like to ask you a question with hand risen, okay? I would like to ask you, who of you is confident in the potential of AI for the school system in general? The potential of AI. Raise your hand. Okay. Who of you now is confident about the way schools today handle the implementation of AI? That's exactly why we are here today. Okay. So now I want to welcome our 4 wonderful panelists, and perhaps we can jump right in the first theme, which we're going to take the point of view of the student. And the first question for our panelists will be, should the use of AI be simply forbidden to students, as many schools do, or should schools create a framework for a healthy, ethical use of AI? So who would like to start first?
Hello, everyone. I am Alisa, representing Teichmann International IT Solutions, and I also serve as Deputy Chair of the Environment and Energy Commission of ICC Armenia. Well, I am an advocate for integrating AI rather than banning it, because today digital literacy is so important and essential. And I think instead of banning it and becoming an outliers, establishing truly working frameworks that would enable students of ethical use of AI is really important, because only in this way, we can prepare future students for such a future that can really help also students enhance their academic performance.
Yeah, and technology. I'll definitely agree that AI should be adapted or adopted in the school system for students, rather than what you're maybe the opposite view, saying that it should be banned. And reason why I say this, for me, the way I look at it is that already it's here to stay, I think, and it's already evolving beyond what we even thought it could be. And right now, even within obviously we are preparing students for the world of work and the world of business. If you look at those two spaces, the people that are, or the organizations that are not making use of AI in their employment or in business, are the ones that are being left behind. So if we are preparing the students for that future, we will really just do justice to them if we make sure that those adoption of AI with the right framework, of course, ethically, as you mentioned, has to be done, I think. And for me, this is the main reason, is that in employment and business of the future, AI will be used beyond what we are seeing even now. So it has to be put together.
Hello all, my name is Jalaj Desai. I'm the head of the school at Southern River Day School in New Jersey. We're about 25 minutes from New York City. We are now looking to open a campus in the Middle East, mainly Sharjah. In this process of AI, we also built an AI platform called ProSchool.ai. So if you have a chance, you can look it up. I think AI plays a very important role in education. It is finally, I think we have got a technology that truly personalized or differentiate learning for the students. We have seen many different technologies so far, starting from LMS to computers. But all that, what it did was simply took what we used to do and gave a tool to simply say, oh, we just going to do stuff electronically. So if you have a great book you should write, now it just does it online. AI has an ability to actually tackle a lot of issues, starting from personalized learning, kids with special needs, and kids with all the underprivileged areas where there's a shortage of teachers, shortage of staff and resources. AI can finally handle that. So I'm very excited for what AI has to offer in the next 5 years.
Just want to comment on that. Hi, my name's Gina, and I am the co-founder and director of Generation Z Education and Training Solutions based here in the UAE. Although I do agree that AI is definitely the way forwards, from a perspective of children and students' cognitive development, there's a very fine line between understanding and comprehending what they're learning to just using AI for plagiarism. And I think the dependability of where students are getting dependent on AI to complete their assignments, to complete their workload, not really looking at the plagiarism aspect. Are they really using their own cognitive functioning? Or is it a matter of type the sentence, get the answer, humanize it, and then submit it? So this is something which, if it's not managed in the right way, in the future when it comes to the workplace, they're so dependent on the technology that they don't actually use their own thinking and processing.
Thank you. So it's really a complex matter because, yes, there is the use of the tool and there is the proper use of the tool. And in fact, frameworks actually need to be implemented. And I think that everyone will agree on that. So that makes things more complicated, right? So now, in what ways can AI enhance student-teacher interaction? Okay? Rather than replacing it, because there are also ideas about replacing completely the teacher, but here, how can it be used to enhance the relationship between the teacher and the student?
I think the main privilege that we humans possess is our emotional intelligence, right? That at least as one of our panelists said, that AI doesn't have a soul. So what we can do, I think teachers can really focus on a couple of key strategies. First of all, they can really develop and build up their human skills, right? And for example, they can not act as simple exchanger of information or deliver that information, but instead they can mentor, guide, and build up relationships that, enhancing those qualities that AI cannot do. I personally consider that AI will never be able to replace teachers completely, right? Because it lacks this emotional part. At least whenever I use AI, I check it because you never know what happens tomorrow. When I say, how do you feel today? And it replies, I don't have emotions. And I said, thanks God, we're still not there.
So, first of all, I don't think AI will ever replace teachers. Teachers cannot be replaced by any technology. However, teachers who don't learn AI, who don't adopt AI, will be replaced with teachers who know AI. That's for sure. One of the things that I think the student engagement piece is very important. And there are a lot of things that teachers can do. And mostly it's personalized learning, where teachers now can actually create assignments and framework and lessons based on kids' interests, strengths, and weaknesses that didn't used to happen all until now, right? So this is going to be a more personalized, differentiated learning. At our school, we've been using AI platform for almost 9 months now, where our teachers have AI assistants that kids are using it. So every day, students go home, and when they do homework, they're able to ask the teacher's assistant questions virtually. So if they're getting stuck at homework or they're getting confused, the AI assistant actually is helping kids understand it better than waiting for 24 hours and seeing the teacher is free or not and getting the answers from the teachers. So there's a lot of student engagement, important interactions can take place outside the school hours when teachers are actually so busy during school hours, and kids take advantage of technology and AI assistants to learn and engage in meaningful conversations.
I think for me, I would like to just share a personal story. So as part of one of our services, we train teachers, early years teachers in the UAE, as well as SENCO and SEN professionals. So I'm working with a lot of adults. And you would be surprised, since AI has come into play, how many assignments I'm receiving from active teachers who are adults, which are completely AI plagiarized. And I actually receive it, and I'm saying, you can see the structure of how AI is written. You can see that this is not them in the class. You can see that when I'm teaching them, they're not responding like this. So how are they producing an assignment like this? And these are all adults. So I actually have to tell them that, can you please redo the whole assignment because it's been completely AI plagiarized. My point to sharing this is that teachers first need to learn themselves how to manage and use AI in order to bridge the gap between them and the student. If they themselves don't effectively learn how to use it in a way which they're not just finding an easy shortcut, then that would be the best way to support the student.
So just to add, when I said we've been using it for 9 months, it took us 2 months to train our teachers so that they can learn AI and then apply those skills for the kids, right? So.
Yeah. What's interesting for me is that the schools that we work with, like even just the most recent school, 3 months ago we started working with, they felt the use of AI is actually burdensome to them when it's supposed to be the opposite. And for them, it was more about them adapting or adopting the AI, meaning the teachers were very resistant to learning how to use AI to build lesson plans, create assessments, and other activities that they may find mundane in the classroom and in the tasks that they do as teachers. But also, let me just add to this is that there are 3 things that I usually tell the teachers that we work with, which AI cannot do. Number 1, imagination. AI can be creative, but it cannot be imaginative, so to speak, like a normal human being. So the imagination has to still come from a human being. Number 2, what she mentioned earlier, which is any aspect of emotional development, social, emotional, and behavioral learning is very much becoming important in education now. That aspect cannot be done. Mentorship, things that involve physical activities with the students, AI cannot do that. So I see the way that if teachers actually, even for the training that we do, we try to get the teachers to focus on those things that the AI cannot do within the classroom to engage with students, while every other mundane thing that AI can do, they delegate, so to speak, to the AI in order to be efficient with their time.
Thank you. So, very interesting. The teacher, the importance for the teacher to be trained in AI. So that's why now we're going to switch to the teacher world and go further into this. So the question would be, how can teachers prevent themselves from becoming obsolete faced with increasing self-learning capabilities with AI?
So I think to add to his point, to answer your question, like I'm looking at it from an early years perspective, 0 to 7. The classroom design is something AI can't do. The classroom design, how to structure the classroom where it's conducive to the children's learning, where they're able to get maximized play-based learning out of the classroom, AI can't do that. And that's something where the teacher comes in and puts their social emotional development in. Children that are coming in with additional needs, AI can't support that. That's when you would need a human impact to understand what is this child's needs, how do I develop an IEP, how do I implement that IEP, how do I differentiate learning, how do I cultivate a classroom where it's differentiated to different abilities and different levels. That AI can't do. So to answer your question, I think that is a very big aspect.
So I think teachers, first of all, I totally agree with you with the IEPs, because there are a lot of claims out there that companies can do better than teachers when it comes to IEPs. And I think that's all nonsense, because we all know early childhood, especially, you need human touch. Even in high school, they need teachers. As far as teachers concerned, I think teachers have to constantly evolve themselves, constantly innovate themselves, reinvent themselves rather, and make sure they're learning about new technology coming up, because AI is much, much faster than what happened in laptop years or the calculators years or any of the technology. This is evolving so fast that a lot of teachers are already kind of overwhelmed with how many resources are out there for them to kind of choose from. There's a different for math and different for science and different one for history and English. So there's so much out there. I think school administration needs to really come in, and the district administration, and really train teachers and make sure they are not overwhelmed, and focusing on what's important is learning and enhancing kids' outcomes, right? That's important. So how does that help? If teachers are not trained to teach properly, doesn't matter what kind of technology they have, if they don't know how to use it, they cannot teach kids with those tools. So it's very critical that teachers train them, and it's up to administration like us and governments to make sure teachers are getting training in this area.
So I will just build up on your thoughts, actually. So teachers should view AI as a complementary tool rather than as competitors. Usually, resistance takes place from the side of teachers because they view AI as a competitor, like leading to this teacher replacement phenomenon. But it's not like that. And one solution to that, I think, would be that teachers really foster critical thinking among the students, because this way students and children can differentiate the biases and limitations of AI as well, because AI is really easy to misuse, right? So fostering how they can do that, they can foster really an engaging classroom environment through creative assignments or interactive games, and they can really ensure this engaging environment where students will be really motivated to be creative and not to just fall in the intellectual frames, but just be really critical and imaginative, as my colleague said.
I completely concur with her that AI is a supplement, not a substitute.
Yes.
And I think specifically in the UAE, where there is such vast cultural differences, you go to a school where it's predominantly Arab speaking, you go to a school which is predominantly English speaking, that's where the teacher comes in because they understand the cultural differences. And that's really important for them to know that as well.
in the US also, they have adopted AI really, really well. I'm surprised how quickly the schools in the United States are adopting AI in schools, but they all understand 4 skills are still important: creativity, critical thinking, communication, and collaboration.
Even conflict resolution. Today, if there's a conflict in your classroom, is AI going to come into your classroom and resolve it? No.
So let's imagine a world where teachers are taught in the field of AI, then they can teach the children, but we all know what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, but what happens at home stays at home. Should teacher work more with parents and involve them more in the learning process for the children in order to avoid AI misusage?
Okay, definitely. I think you mentioned earlier on aspect of plagiarism. Most times this happens in the absence of the teacher. And where does that occur? At home, during homework, during computer-based tests and stuff like that. And I think, and I've seen this even with just this school that I was talking about as a case study. Parents, unfortunately, they are competitive also. So the biggest dilemma for them is that, okay, how do I control the use of AI for my child without knowing that the other parent's child is doing the same or not, so to speak. So it's almost like, I don't know if you remember in the movie The Dark Knight, when the ship, one had prisoners, the other one had civilians. And so each of them had a detonator. I mean, they were told to blow up the other ship. And the dilemma was that, okay, how do I know that this other one is not going to do what has been said not to do, so to speak. So the whole point is that, unfortunately, this is where we see the challenge, even with this case study that I mentioned, which is that many parents, they want their own kids to be the ones to compete better than the other kids. And so why should they listen to the teacher that is saying that they shouldn't, they should moderate the use of AI, But I think for this, the best way to achieve this is to not allocate as much of scoring that will affect the final grade of the child to those assignments that go home. I think that's what we've been able to do for us. And anything that requires the teacher to be the one that in direct supervision of the child's activities, that's the one that we allocate more scores to. But even with that, sometimes it's not as straightforward as that.
I also think the context of where the AI is being used. For example, my personal experience, I have my daughter who's 14 and she spent hours on the computer trying to learn how to program a website because you're using a tool to support you. So I think educating parents that this is going to enhance their learning, not replace their learning.
Thank you.
I think collaboration here is the key, and I think teachers should make parents as their leading and guiding partners, which will really mitigate the misuse of AI. And there was even an experiment in UK schools. They initiated this with parents, and then try to monitor their progress. Once they assigned children a very complicated task, I think 3rd grade children. And what happened, it was, if I'm not mistaken, it was a very, very deep analytical description of a literature hero, Anna Karenina. And many parents next day appeared in the school, quite aggressive, asking, how could you assign this to 3rd grade students or children? And they said, okay, teacher said, okay, we were expecting you. This means we are really progressing AI just to be prepared for the assignment.
Thank you very much. Yeah, very interesting. So now let's take a step up and take the point of view of education as a field. Because, if you look at a schoolroom like 100 years ago, and most of the schoolrooms today, they are all the same. The methods are very similar. There are a few schools that are improving the methods. But now, since education has been evolving slower than technology in the last century, how could this evolution be speeded up?
So I think it's a good thing that it has not been so aggressive as the other industries. But when you have a technology like AI, which has a potential to do so quickly, we just have to be prepared for that. One of the things, just to kind of summarize what has happened with the AI in our school in the last 8 months, our teachers are now, every teacher now is going to our AI platform, just proschool.ai, and they are uploading, enhancing content, creating content on the spot. As you said, you have to be in the control, right? Teachers have to be in the control. So they are enhancing all the content. They have the AI assistant, which is a 24/7 tutor that kids can use. And then on the kids side, students are able to see all those personalized learning, take assignments, do homework, do essays, without actually having all the cheating issues, because we have some really strong guardrails that we've built. The kids can't cheat. All that is happening right now with the help of a tool which didn't exist before, that allows teachers actually to have time to spend time on kind of working with the kids rather than just doing all the busy work. They're analyzing a lot of data, how kids are learning, what difficulties they're having, how much time they're spending on homework, what level of reading and writing they need to be focusing on. So teachers now are adapting to this change and doing something that's really critical is to teach kids. Last point I'll make is there was a recent survey that teachers only spend 32% of their time on instructing kids from the 100% of the job duties. That's awful, because teachers' responsibility is to teach kids. But only 32%, that's bad.
I think one way to really mind this gap between this evolution could be integrating pilot programs and flexible policies so that they can accelerate this adaptation to be just bigger and bigger.
Thank you. Okay. So now we see first vision in under-resourced schools and regions. How could AI help bridge the education gap in under-resourced schools or regions all over the world? Could it replace teachers where there is no teacher?
I think it can. However, you have to look at the financial implications, because if you're looking at underprivileged communities, you have to look at, is there government subsidies for this? How are the children going to have access to technology? Is this going to be funded by other organizations? There are a lot of macro factors to think about this. In essence, if that was all possible, it completely can, with virtual AI lessons which are done online. The only difficulty I would foresee would be those children's motivation to study. What is it going to take them to? What is the progression track? Where is it going to take them? I think that would be where I'm looking at it from both sides of the coin.
I think the answer is it has a potential, but there are a lot of roadblocks. But this technology does have the potential to meet the needs of any kid on the planet Earth. There are a lot of the technologies in the past that have come, and we get excited, virtual reality and this and that. But this one actually has an ability to reach every village in India or every rural area of Africa or every underprivileged communities in the United States. So it has potential, but many challenges ahead.
I also think that it depends in which perspective we talk about this replacement, because if it comes to hard knowledge, yes, children can get the hard knowledge from AI. If it comes to soft skills, developing the soft skills, which becomes more and more important in nowadays, I think it can never replace a teacher, and this human element really remains very, very important in this whole learning process.
Yeah, for me, regarding underserved communities, and I've seen this coming from Africa also, is that most of these underserved communities have also the least number of teacher resource, basically. So you have 100 students to one teacher or two teachers. So the way it has worked, I've seen it, as I said earlier, recommend him so that the time that he would have used and be exhausted to teaching multiple other students, he uses the AI to free up his time so that he will have more energy and efficiency to handle even more students, basically, so to speak. So it's not to say that the AI directly will affect or improve those underserved communities. It's just that the AI being an enabler or a partner to this teacher is going to help his efficiency or his productivity to handle the multiple students and children that he normally would serve in those communities. So that's how I've seen.
Thank you. It's interesting because our panelists already covered the problem of the time spent with administrative tasks. That's why the fourth field that we want to cover now is the point of view of administration. Okay, we've noticed that there is a problem. So now, how can AI reduce administrative burdens for teachers, allowing them more time to focus on teaching and mentoring?
One thing I could say is attendance and class scheduling, timetable scheduling.
Better. These teachers are loving the platform. Plus, they are not answering email assistant. Also, teachers are looking at allowing teachers to teach only 4 days a week now in our school instead of 5 days a week, which allow them to have the fifth day just to prepare lessons and enhance materials. And
Yeah, and I think today there are class performance. It's really easy for the teacher later to see the progress of each child and compromise a little bit the overall curricula.
Yeah, for me, I think to what you said, administration-wise, especially tasks that are mundane, for me, I keep repeating this point. If AI can do it, it will free up time and efficiency. But also, if we look at the three aspects of education, which is curriculum, teaching, and assessment, the key part that maybe AI hasn't done well, or we haven't seen much progress, is on the assessment side. And I'm saying this on 2 points. If assessment changes, or even if AI is used in assessment, things like plagiarism and also checking the right metrics of performance will be better enhanced. Because most students and teachers teach according to what they will be assessed according to, basically. And I think also the use of AI to do maybe computer-based tests and other forms of assessment also will help. So that aspect of education, assessment, is really, I think, underused when it comes to AI.
Just one more point. I think I would urge everybody in this room and everyone you know, talk to people who've been using AI in the schools. It would be much helpful for you to get familiar with what AI is and then pass on to our schools.
Thank you very much. So now, it's interesting. We need AI for administration and administrative work, but sometimes there are a lot of skills that are required to create those systems and to install the system. So what partnerships between schools, tech companies, and governments would be necessary to make AI integration successful at scale?
I would think from a curriculum point of view, the curriculum providers, specifically the British curriculum, they really need to start adapting their
companies in the United States. They have been actively using AI in their companies, so that you'll see more and more that's coming out. I would say one thing though that's very important for AI to work is companies like AWS, which is Amazon Web Services, because AI is expensive. The tokens are expensive. We spend a lot of money on our school because we are a private school, but not everyone can afford it. Kids. That's the biggest hurdle right now, is the cost of running the AI.
Yeah, let me pick it up from his point now. Regarding costs and access, this is something that is affecting adaptability of AI. And for me, when it comes to partnership, I think governments and the international development organizations, if they can help, I think with internet access, electricity, and things like that really carry the burden of costs, that will help as far as partnerships is concerned, I think. So for me, this is where partnership will really help.
And I think while public-private partnership really plays a key role here, and we But I personally think that donor organizations can be really helpful here as well, especially in underserved communities where they can really help governments subsidizing certain projects that would also be quite sustainable, helping them to install all this costly infrastructure. And as it comes to government, I think the setting standards is really important here.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we have covered 4 aspects, okay? There was the student point of view, the teacher, the education, and the administration. Now, I'm quite curious to ask you something. First, where do you see schools in 2040? 2040. Where do you see school? Just give a few keywords, okay? Just raise your hand and give the keyword, and I will repeat them for the audience, okay? Student directed, super. Yes? Prescribe to subscribe curriculum. I choose what I want to study. Super, yeah? Okay. So teaching / coaching. Coaching, okay.
Just
So
coaching.
really going from teaching to coaching. Okay. Okay. Empowered teachers. Super. Yes. Teachers as facilitators. Yeah. Okay. Nice. A subject like emotional intelligence, financial intelligence, and yeah, all those things that today are sometimes a little bit set aside. Yes. Life skills. Super. Yes. Sorry? Democratizing education. Okay. Yes. Idea. Okay. The new subject for terraforming. Okay. Yes. Skill. Okay. Focus on skills. Super. Last one. Yes. Offline education. Okay. Great. So, bravo. Okay, so knowledge, skill, application now, and reversing it. Application, skill, knowledge. Okay, thank you. So now it's good because now you start to raise some ideas. We have a few minutes left. If you have questions to ask to our panelists, okay? So if you have a question, please just stand up to the microphone and you can ask your question.
I'm not gonna ask a question because they cover everything about AI, but I'm thinking to change something in the title. Instead of saying AI, let's say emerging technology. Emerging technology, because we are right now living in the digital transformation era. DX or DT cover everything. If you're gonna apply AI, it's okay, but it's not like a trend. You're gonna have a strategy for everything. DX strategy that can lead you
Tell it to the Education 2.0 and to organizers.
Thank you. I'm not sure how many have read this book. Student Focus from John Harry. Though it was written in 2018, before the emergence of AI, there are a lot of things that he talks about. Basically, is very relevant today. Question to the panelists. When I did the 3.0 presentation on AI at the IB conference in Jakarta, I put 5 questions. So you got only 5 people there. So how many of you are scared?
Scared of.
Scared of AI?
Excited.
Excited.
No, I'm coming. In the order. There is scared, there is threatened, there is worried, there is challenged, there is excited. Good. We are from Singapore. Singapore is actually leading in the AI sector, especially in the MOE schools. We use in Singapore for feedback assistant, language model, and helping the teachers to do everything that takes a lot of admin time. So we are ahead compared to, I would say, almost other countries in the world. My question is, again, where do you see research again says that in 8 years' time, you will not have any closed classrooms. It's open classroom. So where do you see in 8 years' time the teacher who is going to do a difference in the learning?
So I think to answer your question, there's one element of being excited to see where AI can take us.
Mhm.
But if we're being realistic, there's the other element of being worried because teachers may not be as required. To be very honest, although the title says future ready schools, there may not be any schools. There might be learning from various different locations. So when we're looking at it as education as a whole, there is a slight worry of what's going to happen at that level. Will we be having schools? Will we be having facilities? Will there be principals? Will there be deputies? Will there be head teachers? Will there even be any teachers? So there is a little bit of that worry.
So I think I've heard the open classroom, closed classroom since 20 years now. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I'm a firm believer in AI and technology and all that stuff. The school's going to remain schools. I think kids going to go to schools, especially in the next 15, 20 years. It's not going anywhere.
Okay. So I teach IB physics. I will tell you how I use in the classroom, because we will say children do, plagiarize, copy things. So when I give an assignment to the kid, I will always say, write your response to the question first. Same question you put in ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, you get 3 plus 4 answers. Your task is to summarize everything, give me the best answer. That's where the creativity and critical thinking is coming from. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's an interesting approach also. Yeah. Excellent. We have time for one more question. So yes, please come to the microphone. We have 3 more minutes.
Okay, this discussion has generally dealt with education. I'm not really quite sure what the limit of that definition was, because it seems to be from birth to death almost. But with AI, in Australia anyway, they're now looking at legislating a ban on kids getting access to social media under 16 years of age. Other countries around the world are apparently looking at the
I
same
can't hear
thing.
anything. I'm sorry. Can you close the door, please?
Right? So, yeah, other countries seem to be looking at the same sort of legislation of trying to keep kids off computers up until a certain age to allow kids to be kids. Now, the admin side of it, yes, computers have always tried to help admin, and AI is part of that. But where do you see the difference between an age limit on kids being kids as opposed to kids being taught about how to be a kid by a computer that doesn't have a soul and doesn't have the parents having responsibility for their education? Because after all, worldwide, there's a lot of problems around with discipline and all that. And we'll go, oh, it's someone else's problem, it's not the parents. But if AI continues down this path, is there going to be a problem in which we are saying we are now no longer responsible for the actions of our children because they were taught? That's the general thing. How do we look at education? Is there going to be, or should there be, limits on when computers and AI should be the ones that are dictating, and when should they be left to children to interact with teachers and people, to be people and to be children, and when can we let loose a little bit and say, okay, AI can help them, when they can understand it, misinformation and the incorrect information out there, the incorrect understanding of information out there is becoming a huge problem. And that hopefully is age specific, that once you get some idea of what is right and wrong, you can then read something and go, that doesn't make sense. Maybe it's not right. I have to look it up again. Whereas when you're below, maybe you do not understand the difference.
I will have to now give the word to the panelists.
I think to your point is what I mentioned at the beginning, that when do children develop their own cognitive independence to answering or to repeating any assignments or completing them. And I think what would be a very interesting topic for a panel discussion is understanding the impact of AI on children's mental health. And I think that's something which we really need to start looking at. Things like anxiety, stress, depression, so many factors that can come in where children become over-dependent on the use of AI. So I think that's something which would be definitely an area we need to explore.
Yeah, I think people on the ground, a lot of the educators, I'm not sure we all are experts in when it comes to all the skills. And I think it needs to be by the governments. They need to come up with the committees and task force to kind of do some research on it. And research not just for a 3 months or 6 months long data, but like a research in depth and figure out what this means. Because you questioned it and you have all the good answers in your question too. So I think it's a really unknown territory at this point in my mind.
Yeah, for me, I think it's not about age, it's about readiness. And I'll give an example. For instance, in Nigeria, you see that unless a child has mastered the times table, for instance, up to a certain level, the teacher wouldn't allow that child, the school wouldn't allow that child to have a calculator. You must have mastered a certain level of arithmetic offhand before you're given the calculator. Same as there's a subject we teach called technical drawing, but it's basically like 3D drawing. So unless you master technical drawing by hand and plain sheet, they're not going to give you access to AutoCAD or SketchUp or some of these other technology tools. Same as even typing, writing essays and stuff like that. They don't give you access to Microsoft Word until you have mastered a very, very almost perfect handwriting before they give you access to MS Word or MS PowerPoint and things like that. So I think it's about readiness rather than about age. So that's why maybe differentiated instruction, maybe, and some of those other student-centered learning in terms of, because they may be all the same age, but they are not at the same level of cognitive maturity, or even in terms of behavioral maturity and stuff like that. So for me, I think that's how.
I also think that schools will still remain because socialization with peers is so important for a normal child brain development. So it doesn't matter how many facilities and tools and access you would have. It's still very important that children go to school and socialize with peers. And because even if they get that hard knowledge of simple behavioral norms, they need an environment for execution. Otherwise, it cannot become a reality. And in the end, they may become just some isolated and, have really challenges in further life, real life.
And I think just the last point as well to that question was that it's very important for schools and parents to work, individual schools or within a governance to work where there is clear policy and legislation, where schools can use AI to collect data to understand, are the children becoming too dependent? What is their attendance? What is their performance? And to develop solutions where maybe 3 hours of the day you don't have access to AI. If they feel that the community, the student body in the community is showing negative consequences of the use of AI, then the school has to make adaptive techniques to support that, and vice versa.
Thank you very much. And I think this is a nice conclusion to this panel. So first, I would like to thank our wonderful panelists. Please give them a hand. And thank you also to all of you for your participation, for the questions, for your attention. And we hope you all the best for the rest of this day and those 3 days that we're going to spend together. Thank you.